All right. We are here for part 2 of the Break Free podcast, where we're discussing vlogcast, whatever, where we're discussing the vlogcast, Break Free. We're talking about Anne's creative process. The first half of the last episode, we talked a lot about some of her initial rules, suspending her inner critic. You got to meet the critic, who I thought was not only not overly harsh, but also very handsome. And today, Anne's going to take us to the next part of her process. And Anne, you're best equipped to do that.
Guess you guys can guess what my process looks like. That actually might be fun. Yeah, what do you think I do?
Well, I also think that this is a good spot, too, to say, not everybody does it this way. So if your process, viewers or listeners, is different, feel free to comment. We'd love to chat with you about how your process is. Because even my process is very similar to Anne's in some way and very different in other ways. So, yeah, please drop us a comment down below and also like and subscribe to the video and our channel and stuff. I'm always supposed to say that and I forget. My bad. I'll shut up. Anne, do your thing.
All right, but we do. We welcome your comments. We want to, this is an open conversation here, even though it seems very one-sided right now. Okay, so let's say... So as you can see, even though, I told you all these things about staying ready and having paper ready, more often than not, I have like junk paper that I got memos on from when I was a biology teacher that I write on the back of them. Mm-hmm. And so what I also do like to do is I like to date my entries. So I kind of know when I started this. So apparently this particular piece of paper is from March 27th of 2014. So kind of older than I thought, but also, see, I followed my rule of not throwing things away. So, and you can see there's kind of some loose verse ideas. There's kind of some groupings. But then, I'd be thinking about this song. How this started, back to what we were talking about, is I found a little lick on the bass that I liked. And so I was doing, and that's all it was. And then I kind of started building on that. But yeah, I was just playing in a single position. And I had a pretty simple little line that I could kind of groove to. And so I had this, kind of groovy line. And because apparently it was springtime, which is my favorite time of year, for those of you who wanted to know.
Always right in the spring from England.
So my first line I've got scribbled on this paper was, "The river she is flowing to the sea." And so that I was setting that to that dum ba dum bum bum. The river she is flowing out into the sea. And that's all I started with. Okay, so and I was like, I'm kind of liking this. I'm feeling groovy. And I had to silence the critic a lot. Just so you know, like that always happens. Even after I've got a little momentum. So I would kind of have this going in my head, and occasionally I would write a few more lines on that, and I would save it. And sometimes I wouldn't have my original piece of paper with me, but fear not. I had one of those beautiful journals that I'm always scared to write in, but I told myself, you know what? You're going to write in this. So what I ended up doing, amidst like people's contact information and a recipe back here, is I scribbled some more lyric ideas in the back so that I could find it. Anyway, process. This is how it looks for me, folks. So then I combined lyrics there, and I think I also had some little ideas in my phone and probably on the back of a napkin, because that's how I do it. Not always good about keeping it in the same place. Then I got them all together, and I kind of put it on, oh look, I had a fresh sheet of paper that didn't have anything else on it. I kind of organized some things into some choruses and a verse. All right, so even then, now that I've got something kind of going, I was finding this one line that I really liked, but that wasn't fitting well.
Mm-hmm.
You can still see the top of my head there. Anyway, so I was doing that. River, she is flowing out into the sea. There ain't no way you know how it's gonna be. So that was working. And then I was playing with other kind of variations on those same lyrics because I'll try out a lot of different things. And so I had this one. We'll see if amongst all these papers. The river, she is flowing out into the sea. I'm jumping in and going where I never been before. But there's too many lines, right? So, because as I was playing that, the river, she is flowing out into the sea. Jumping in and going, never been before. Oh no, I had too much. So what I have now is I took out some extra lines because I still liked that thought. So I have, as you can see, there's some things that are, well, maybe you can see, that are marked out there as I'm trying to figure things out. So I have the river, she is flowing right outside my door. I'm going, never been before. It's something like that. Anyway, I actually need to like retype this again because I can't read my own writing. So, yeah.
That's a classic Zach problem.
Yeah,
Can't read my writing all the time.
I know what I did now. So, like I said, even though, like, so you can see it's kind of the drafts, is there's the initial drafts that for me often get spread between many places. Then there's kind of the compiled draft, and then I end up, for me, I do better, this is just a note for you myself, I do better physically writing on paper than typing, initially, because I just write differently, and I need to feel the flow from here through my arm to the paper, it seems like it's more focused and pointed if I have one hand rather than two. I don't know. Anyway.
You dirty hippie.
It's just who I am, critic. It's who I am.
But I think to that point too, if whatever is the easiest, as I would say, is usually the best, right? Like if I have a guitar in my hand, it's hard to type because then I gotta put the guitar down. But if I have a pen, I can just scribble. So.
Right. Or if I've got just a recording program going where I can tap the space bar for pausing and starting, or if I've got, I can click go, then that's easy. Right. Again, it's whatever is going to be easy for you.
Yep. And I will not put this in our post, and listeners, I'm not going to edit this part either. You're just have to know that there's something that you don't get to hear. After we're done, I totally have to tell you a story about a dude who was like, it just flows through my hands, man. It'll crack you up.
Perfect. Yeah.
Anyway, back to Ann Luna's writing song.
So we got some drafts. They're starting to coalesce. We're starting to see the primordial song crawling up. It's the evolution of the song. It's like,
The inspiration lightning has hit the creative pool and combined two enzymes, making the first single-cell organism of music. We call it the one chord.
We have life! And it sounds like this. You guys are going to get so tired of this.
It's groovy, though.
But it works for me. And that's our single-cell organism. It's now multiplied.
Right.
So what I would do too is sometimes I can't sing and play at the same time. And so if I have anything I can record that idea on, and here we can invite parts of the critic in, okay, in the form of, for me, a metronome. That's the metronome face. So, will in time. So I could say, hey critic, you're really good. You're really good at keeping just like a steady beat. Let me know where my line's getting squirrely. Okay, so
As your critic, I'm a little concerned that you're outsourcing my criticism to a metronome, but
it's
fine.
just it's focusing your criticism. It's just one.
Fine. But I'm not going to be gentle. If you get off beat, I'm going to yell, wrong!
And that's what the metronome does every time. And where I say, no, you're wrong, you are defective. And it never is. It's never the metronome's fault after all these years.
I had a student one time. They're like, the metronome slows down. I'm like, really? In the same place every time, huh? Or no, the metronome speeds up. I'm like, really? Always in that bridge? Interesting.
Always in the same spot.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's consistent. So here's where, again, I would invite something like a metronome, or if I've got a drum loop that I'm liking. And so I'm just, you know, where I'm changing things a little bit. So like I said, you could probably hear that not all that's super smooth. So this is where I would get a little help from the critic and say, all right. And so then I would work with that for a while, not to beat myself over the head with it, but just to get that kind of figured out. And then if I get frustrated, if I don't have the stamina to get through that frustration, I'll let it set and I'll go and get a cup of coffee and then I'll come back, you know,
Right.
if I've got time for it. Or if I've like said, you know, it totally depends on my mood that day, and everybody will differently. You know, you don't want to make this, you don't want to reinforce the idea that this is a painful process.
Right.
So, you know, and usually if I've already got some pretty good enthusiasm about something, I'm willing to set and struggle with a metronome or a chord progression. And yeah, and then it's useful feedback and it's not bashing feedback.
Right.
So I'll do that. And then if I've got my computer with me or a phone or something where I can record that, I'll record that line oftentimes with the metronome or some kind of click so that I can play with that. Then from that, I'm free to work with lyrics and I can just focus on like those lines that's got too many syllables, or if I'm figuring out, do I really want to rhyme there? Or does that sound as good actually with the bass line as I thought it did?
Right.
Then, so you can see I'm starting to invite the critic in, but only a little bit. We're not letting the critic have full reign. So restrain yourself, critic. I just need you to show me a restrained critic.
Fine. I'm gonna straight jacket myself. My leather jacket here. Man, this is gonna be
Right. You have to be, you can't give the critic too much space. This is important. You can say, critic, you're allowed to come help me out with the beat. You're allowed to come help me out with meter. You can come help me out with rhyme right now. You can't tell me that I suck or compare me to anybody else.
damn it, but that's my favorite.
You can do that later. Now is not the time. You're not inviting that part of your criticism, okay?
By the way, my inner critic's telling me that maybe I shouldn't try to zip up my jacket with my hands on the inside. It's very difficult. I may never get out of my straight jacket.
Yeah, that might be too much. But
There we go. I'm a restrained critic.
nice. Okay, so restrained critic, you can give me some feedback now. Just you know, you can listen to the beats, you know, you are allowed to help me with rhythm, meter. I don't really know. That's it. That's all you can do. Okay. And so there, if I've got the metronome, got the restrained critic, I can hear places where it can be a little tighter. Okay. So we're going with that. And here you can see my own inner critic. So things that I do too to help with my own inner critic is I'm still wanting to like allow ideas to come through if they want. So I'll put things in parentheses like, yeah, maybe those lyrics, maybe these, I'm not sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I do that too, all the time.
Or just placeholder words. I think there's a, we'll see if I get this right. On Tom Petty for You Wreck Me, Baby. Yeah, you cut me in two. Move me, honey. Yes, you do. So instead of having wreck at first, he had just rock as a placeholder word and then later to wreck. But yeah, like I said, sometimes you just need that placeholder, like, okay. It's like, okay, I know I don't want to say you rock me, baby, but that's what it's going to be right now. You know? So
man, it's almost like Tom Petty could have written Wagon Wheel but didn't. Right. Oh man, that's the inception of songwriting.
So yeah, that little muse just flew off elsewhere. Went to Bob Dylan and said, all right.
Yeah. Actually, I think Bob Dylan's verse of that was probably, I don't know, whatever.
I don't, anyway.
Yeah. Who cares?
You can, in the comments, you can correct us on all this.
Yes, please, in the comments, tell us what came first, Bob Dylan's chorus for Wagon Wheel or Tom, whatever.
Anyway.
By the way, this straitjacket is kind of uncomfortable. I blame you,
Okay,
Ian.
so like I say, we're starting to loosen the grip on the critic because now we need the critic. We don't need things to just replay so much. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Much better.
Restrained, still got the jacket on. So here too is where I would look at things like song form. Okay, it's like, do I want to do verse, chorus? Does it call for a bridge? And once I've got an initial track laid out, and for me, if I can let it sit a little bit and then come back to it with fresher ears, I usually have a better perspective on that. And if I do that several times, and for me too, because I'm a very kind of moody person, so if I'm in a good mood, I'll be like, yeah, this is awesome. If I'm in a bad mood, like, oh, this sucks. So if I listen to the same thing throughout those moods and have an average of like, it really doesn't totally suck. It only sucks when I'm feeling like everything sucks. Then I've got a better idea. You know? And I mean, it's the same as like, oh, this isn't the best song ever. It just feels like that when I feel like everything's the best ever. All right, so for me, it's important for process to have the right amount of time and to revisit things throughout my different moods. This is why this song that was started apparently in 2014 has yet to be recorded.
So, Anne, what I'm taking from this conversation is don't write songs while you're doing ecstasy because you will think everything is amazing. Is that appropriate?
That's right. That's my process, and I had to learn that the hard way. Just a jewel of experiential wisdom for you listeners.
Don't do ecstasy while you're writing.
No, I don't. You know that's not my process, but I probably won't be. No. But
don't do drugs, kids.
But for me, seriously, if if I've had a cup of coffee in the morning, because I'm kind of sensitive like that, you know, things will have a totally different flavor than if I write something in the afternoon or late at night. And I'll find too that, yeah, kind of going back to that initial how do we create and going back and revisiting the same thing, if I revisit it at different times of the day and in different moods, I'll find different flavors and different things that I would infuse into that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that makes total sense. Like I remember back in my early 20s when I would smoke a little bit, every time if I was writing with like a cigarette or a cigar, everything came out like a Tom Waits song. Everything. Like,
oh, God, this is great too. It's like, don't underestimate the use of props, you know, like
right.
a cigarette or, you know, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about how sometimes she'll try to kind of seduce the muse and she'll, you know, take a shower, do her hair and her makeup, put on bright red lipstick and perfume, be like, all right, I'm ready, muse. You know? But it's, you can wear a different pair of shoes. Yeah, there's people who like put on combat boots when they're like ready to go to work, you know, and like do battle with them. You know, if that's your thing, do it. If I wear a pair of boots as compared to a pair of tennis shoes or my house shoes, which I have on now, it's gonna be a totally different feel, right? Or if you're barefoot, if you're outside, if you're changing how you physically feel, it's gonna come out in your creative process. Yeah.
Yep.
And probably different versions of the critic too.
It's too easy. I'm not even gonna make the joke.
All right.
You guys all know what I was gonna say. Everybody does. Oh God. By the way, I appreciate you saying that it was Elizabeth Gilbert that puts on lipstick and a dress and not telling everybody it was me.
And that's not Zach. But, you know, whenever Zach, you know, employs the same method, he gets a totally different song.
Yeah.
To not do that.
I'll tell you what, it's amazing. If I have a cigarette, I'm Tom Waits. If I have a dress, I'm David Bowie. And
right. And, you know, and everybody's got their different comfort level and their way of doing it. I just know that for me, yeah, if I take a shower, if I'm well fed, whether I have caffeine or not, what I'm wearing, scents in the room, you know,
right.
If you light a candle or have a diffuser or whatever, incense, it's going to change the mood. And lighting, you know, so like all these physical things that are going to affect our mental state.
Totally.
Yeah. And how we do that.
And not just writing, but performance too, right? If I'm recording people here in the studio, there's literally a dimmer switch for every track of lights in here, and I can adjust the lighting pretty drastically, which has helped some people, like if they're trying to get a really intimate vocal performance, let's dim the lights, you know? Right. So I think that applies to writing and performing.
For sure.
And for any of you who've ever been the opening band like Ann and I have before, where it's like the headliner has lights down, the opener has half lights, and the opening band is full lights. You can see the empty theater.
Right.
It changes the performance.
It's coming back to, as we said in episode previous to this, don't compare yourself to others. This is consistent throughout the entire process. Even when you have the song written, recorded, and you're performing it in front of people, even after you've gone through all of that, you still have to like have this plastered in your brain, not compare yourself to others.
What's on your wall besides Batman posters?
If you want more positive, like maybe affirming language instead of don't compare yourself to others, because then we think, oh, compare yourself to others, that's all I heard. Maybe you want to know instead, you are enough. So this is like me. It's just, So that has been plastered on my wall for a long time. And yes, I colored that myself.
Can we address the most important part of this video right now?
What's that?
Do you have a VCR?
Yes, I do. So what I also have, I have a massive old school television.
Holy shit.
Yes, I do. So that's the kind of person I am.
So wait, the person with the cassette recorder, that was actually you, wasn't it?
Yes, a good friend of mine. A good friend.